You're tuned into K.I.L.L. Dead Air Radio, transmitting to you from Munger's Mills.
Hello there. My name is Dr. Gary Mullinix, and I have a special treat for you today. Are you bored with your day-to-day lives? Is the daily grind getting you down? Do you want to see exciting new worlds just outside of your door? Do you want to look at these worlds and not have to flip through your phone and get off the couch? Well, we have a special treat for you today. At the bottom of our screen is a number. Dial that number and you can be the first human on your block to own your own reality machine. What is a reality machine, you might ask? This is a reality machine. In the parlance of our poll, we call it a psychic oscillator. Created by me, yours truly, Dr. Gary Mullinix. This machine allows its operator to tune in and to lock in psychic energy that's all around us. Imagine. Once psychic energy is locked into a physical form, it's easily manipulated in a million different ways. Imagine that. Full creative control over the physical world around you. That's what this oscillator offers its operator. Now, I'll ask you again. Are you happy with your boring, absurd 9-to-5 lives? Or would you rather be a god?
We have operators 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, ready to take your call.
I have my own oscillator number 36. 36 is the magic G-spot. We can tune in almost any rhythm with this oscillator number 36. Let's try it out. Engage!
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the first transmission from the Lost Pole, once a tree lounge, now known as Barkers Cove. K.I.L.L. Dead Air Radio and your DJ, the Logos Man, that's me, have picked up this transmission from some poor lost souls. They were floating in the abyss, snatched by the yellow agents. So sit back and take a listen, and try desperately not to get hijacked by the party club in their white coats with their red rubber hoses. Here is K.I.L.L. Dead Air Radio's transmission of Barkers Cove.
Barkers Cove. 1. The Arrival. The man, known simply as Fish, sat in the booth of the only diner on the island. Fish hadn't been to this island in nearly a decade. He watched the neon open sign, nursing his coffee. The Cove, he thought, removing a menu from between the napkin dispenser and the sugar canister. Seagulls and sun decorated the plastic menu. There were no seagulls and virtually no sun on Barkers Cove. There wasn't much about the island that Fish still remembered, but those were two definites. He hadn't been on this godforsaken island for so long now, and most of the time he had spent were fuzzy nightmares. An anniversary was nearly here. He checked his wristwatch and glanced at the cheap drugstore purchase clock on the wall. Fish's watch was 3 minutes fast. Adjusting the watch, he motioned for a refill on his coffee. If his long-lost companion did arrive, they would have a talk that would last the night through. The pack of Camels in his corduroy jacket pocket were itching to be removed and smoked. A no smoking sign was taped above the cash register. When would his companion be here? Shit. He wanted a cigarette. The waitress refilled his coffee. You waiting for someone? Fish glanced up at the pretty young brunette in the Cove diner uniform, a nice figure. He was quickly approaching middle age, mid-40s. Would he have a chance with a young thing? Maybe in his youth. Oh, yes. Checking his wristwatch, he sipped off his coffee and then thanked her with his eyes. Eyes that had grown crow's feet a couple of inches long. Fish's 5 o'clock shadow was peppered white on the chin, same as the temples. The waitress smiled back and then walked to an elderly couple 2 tables away. The streaks from the rain on the diner windows cast a shadow over his face as the headlights of a nondescript rental vehicle pulled into the parking lot. Fish squinted at the headlights. The car parked and the headlights remained on. The engine revved softly. That was him, the contact. Why the hell were they doing this all over again? It had been 10 years. They were Facebook friends, shared an occasional chat from time to time through keystrokes miles away. But flying across the country, booking a charter ferry to this godforsaken island, checking into the only decent hotel, the only actual hotel on this rinky-dink patch of land off the coast of wherever. It's crazy. The headlights in the parking lot switched off, followed by the engine.
Fish waited, glancing out the window, looking past the rain-streaked glass, as the dark silhouette of his companion waited. Time for that smoke. Sipping off his coffee, he slid from the booth, tapping a cigarette out of the pack. He placed an unfiltered cigarette between his scruffy lips and removed a cheap Bic lighter as he exited the diner. The other man was still in the rental. Fish stood behind the diner's awning and lit the candle, taking a deep drag, and then he waved at his companion. The rain started the second he stepped from beneath the awning. The parking lot lights seemed to dim on cue. Fish walked to the rental car, and after trying the passenger door, finding it locked, he tapped on the window. The man in the car waited a beat, and then hit the unlock button. Fish slid inside. "Hey man," Fish said. His companion didn't respond. He glanced forward. When he did look to Fish, Fish saw the large, red burn scars down the side of Nick's face. Fish winced. He had forgotten the burns. The war had been horrible to his old pal. "Hi," Nick said. Nick's eyes dropped to the glowing red end of Fish's cigarette. Fish rolled down the window and threw the Camel out. They sat silently, looking, and then the blinking neon diner light flicked on and off, on and off. Nick looked slightly younger than Fish. His hair, at least the hair on the left side of his head, was slicked back, dark and wavy. The right side of Nick's face was warped with burnt scar tissue and balding scalp. Nick's eyes finally looked at his partner. "Can you believe this shit?" "Really?" Fish grumbled, staring out the rain-drenched window. "Calling our asses back to this place for... Jesus. After all this time," Nick said. His skinny, skeletal hands gripped the steering wheel. Fish saw the rage in Nick. Rage that his friend had never had before the events of the war. Post-traumatic stress, Fish guessed. He wanted another cigarette. "Tell me about it. Not sure about you, but I was kicking in Palm Springs. Little side project here and there, getting shit done, you know, the Fish style." Fish said, trying desperately to sound upbeat despite the horrible situation they found themselves in. "The motherfucking Fish style. Yeah. I remember the Fish style," Nick said, touching the scars on the side of his face. "Yeah, well, bygones," Fish said, bashfully, extending a hand. Nick looked down at Fish's hand. It was shaking with anxiety. "We're in it together, I guess," Nick grumbled. They both stared out the window of the rental car. The night was silent, but both of them felt the impending, watchful eyes of their enemy. They both stared out the window of the rental car. The night was silent, but both of them felt the impending, watchful eyes of the enemy. Where would those enemies appear? Whose face would they wear? Well, that about wraps it up for this transmission. Closing off the lights here at the old K.I.L.L dead air radio station, Munger's Mills. See you boys and gals on the flip side. Enjoy those astral poles tonight and be safe. Stay warm and love your loved ones.